Today's presentation is going to be on sprayer technology, but there's going to be like 3 different parts that I'm going to actually do. It's going to be sprayers, then it's going to be technology, and it's going to be sprayers and sprayer technology together is what it is. Before I get off this slide, you can see that there's a little yellow-orange sprayer up there. That's our Haggy sprayer. That's part of our lineup now for our applicator machines. It gives you the option for a front-mounted boom. So if you guys are looking for a different option in that, John Deere offers that lineup for our machines there. In order for us to be able to kind of appreciate where we're at, that's why I did the past, present, and future. We kind of need to know where it all started to see how far we've came to understand where we're going to be in the future. So that's what the first couple of slides I have here is going to do, is be able to show us how far we've actually came in a short period of time, whether it just be machine specifically and then the technology in itself. So I kind of found a lot of pictures of sprayers in the past, and I kind of just put a collage together with them. I have a couple of these slides here, but if you can see the top left portion of it, in less than 100 years, this whole sprayer idea came about with John Deere, and that's where it kind of started. So the one in the top left is roughly around in the 30s. It's a pull type sprayer, and it actually had a wooden tank on it that only holds about 150 gallons. So you can imagine how far we came since then. The next models past that was 55-gallon drums, and you could mount about 3 of them on the back of a tractor itself and have that there. And these are no bigger than 10-foot wide booms if you think about that. It's not really covering a lot of area. It's not really doing a lot, the most efficient that you can do. And that's why as it progressed, it's been a great tool and asset to be able to have. I'd be interested to see if any of you have any of these sitting in your, your shelter belts or in your Quonset. Hearing stories if you were growing up and being able to ride on any of these or seeing of it, because I know I haven't seen any of these myself. So if you got any stories like that, please come by and visit and tell us about it. It'd be interesting to hear. As we progress further into the lineup, it wasn't until about the end of the 70s, first of the 80s, that we had the opportunity to get CAGs on basically our machines, to where we got a few more of those creature comforts, such as the air conditioning, the radios, be able to have that. We might take that for granted nowadays. It's something that's just normal. Our Bluetooth, our radio, everything like that is now incorporated in that machine to be able to run more efficiently. And when we talk more about that being more efficient, we all started this journey, back in the 30s of only having that small team capacity. Now we're looking ahead to the future and where we are now, to where we're no longer running those small section booms. We're all the way up to 132-foot carbon fiber booms, and then up to 1,600-gallon tanks. You can imagine where we're at now. That is huge compared to what we are. And that's not even taking into factor the speed that we're able to go back in and controlling the rate that we needed to. So that's huge when you think about that. I mean, we're pushing small horsepower back then. Now we're 100, 200, 300 horsepower that we can take these machines up to 20 miles an hour, and then of course faster than that transport speed. So kind of gives you an overview of what all that is. But like I said, I'd be interested to hear if any of you guys have some of those stories. I know it's interesting to me because this is outside of the technology piece. So that's kind of the sprayer equipment piece of that. What I'm going to get to now is the technology. This is outside of the sprayer technology, but I gave you that little info on less than 100 years is how far the sprayers have developed. Well, then in less than 25 years, the technology is developed with that. So you can see how fast everything is getting incorporated with the technology piece there. So less than 25 years ago, the whole idea of the displays and receivers with the GPS and auto steer guidance came about. What Deere is doing, if you can look on the right-hand side, there's tier levels for it. So you have the hardware piece, the guidance piece, the connectivity. They're all stair-stepping up. So I'm going to say it a few times through the presentation to where if you're not adopting some of these items, you're going to get left behind. You need to adopt a few of these to keep up with the pace of all the technology, to be able to stay with it. So everything now that comes from the factory has a display and soon to be a receiver built into it integrated. So that's going to be a thing of the past. So it's already there. Now, the things that I've seen from my experience, from guys out in the field and farmers, that you have a set of a display and a receiver and you only use it for auto steer. I cringe when I hear that, because you paid upwards of $15,000, $20,000 for a set to be able to go out there and run auto steer when the capabilities are so much more. We need to take advantage of all the offers that is available with the software and benchmark that to make our operation more efficient. It's all there. So it's on how you use it. Please ask questions, to be able to run your operation a little better. So what Deere is doing now, outside of the whole hardware piece, it's all getting wireless, hands off. So in about, I think it was 2012, JD Link came about. What that is the wireless capabilities in the machine where there is essentially like a cell phone data device in there that connects the farmer, you guys running your machines to get information in real time right at your fingertips, whether it's on your phone, on an app, or whether it's on your computer on the platform there. That gives you real-time updates where that machine is, what it's doing, where it's located, if it's running, how much is left in the field that needs to be completed. It's all there for you. And then on the dealer side of it for us, we're able to actually get alerts, to maybe be proactive and help you fix something before it happens, and then able to actually see what's going on your display. To give you a little example this year, we had a little over 900 remote display access events. And what those are is from our phones at the dealership level, I'm able to see what's going on your display, and I'm able to help you over the phone versus driving out there. Now, if you put those 900 events into hours, service hours, and what it costs you to have us come out, think how much money that is saving. So the direction that I'm kind of gearing you towards is everything's getting more wireless, and we need to be more efficient with the technology, and that's what it's doing. All of that is then leading into the automation and machine piece with the autonomy. So another thing I'll encourage you guys to think about is when we think of autonomy and autonomous, there's certain things like cameras, sensors, and everything like that that are incorporated to get us to there. Well, pretty much all of this is already on our machines that we're getting nowadays. It's there. So I encourage you to think about the autonomy piece is already here. It's not when. It's actually now, and then it's how we're using those pieces of technology to be able to run that machine full autonomous. So if you see the way it's stair-stepping up, that's the direction it's going. There's many other things on this if you guys got questions with it. That whole automation piece on it, we have it for the exact apply on our sprayers to be able to control the rate and individual nozzle, combine advisor. It's already adjusting all the settings for us. And so what this means is if you have a hired man that's not familiar with it, we all know the labor pool is getting a little bit difficult to find people, let alone skilled people. So what we need to do is leverage our technology to be able to run it more efficiently, to put somebody in there that may not know it as well. So that's what this whole automation piece is leading us to, then getting into the autonomy piece there. So that's a little bit on the technology evolution. You can see less than 100 years of sprayer, less than 25 years of technology. Imagine what the next 5 years is going to be. It's going to be huge. Everything's going to be completely wireless almost, to where you got to adopt this or you're going to be left behind. When I break down sprayer technology specifically, in my mind, it comes down to these four specific categories here. When I think of the field-based broadcast, I'm thinking about how well I can actually do that specific operation with what I have. And when my mind goes to is auto track. So this is a pass-to-pass accuracy level. So when you're going down the field, how can I be the most accurate with just auto steer when I'm going down and back without skipping or overlapping? So that's what I think about in the broadcast. The section control broadcast, which is a zone. So some of our sprayers have different amount of sections on it, whether it be 7 and so on. Those are actually covering specific links on that boom to be able to turn off and on at the end of our headlands or coming across those difficult angle patterns that we need to turn off and on. Now, I want you to think about how efficient that might be coming into those angle patterns. In and out of our headland, that's pretty efficient. But coming into those angle patterns, let's say we have a 15-foot section and we only need to cover 1 feet. You have to decide whether to leave that 1 foot uncovered or you have to over apply 14 feet. So it's good in a sense, but how do we make it better? That's where that per row comes in. And we're going to talk about that with exact apply, because what that gives you is an individual nozzle section control. So you're no longer worried about that whole section coming on and off and maybe over applying or under applying. You're going to get those individual nozzles that's only covering what you specifically need down to a nozzle spacing. That's what that is. Past that, which I know everybody's excited to probably hear about it and they've seen a little bit of it, is the AI technology with the See and Spray. It's as simple as it sounds. See a weed, spray a weed. As easy as that. And there's a couple different versions of that, and I'll get into that here in a little bit. But that's basically where we're going. And you can see how this kind of funnels down to where if you're not adopting some of the other things, you'll never get where we need to be on this. So when we talk about the field broadcast and the auto track, there's a couple different things that I look at that you can add to your auto track to make it even better, whether it's a reactive or a proactive approach. These two options here is more of a reactive approach. This is after everything's already been planted. What do we do? How can we make the machine better? How can we follow those rows better? How can we be the most efficient we can without running down crop? The two options here can be added on to pieces of equipment depending on your model. And it's just a camera on the right side, and it's actually just telling the difference between the soil and the plant there, and it's able to follow it and put that tire in that row. The one on the left there is just a rubber paddle there that's hitting against the corn stalks. So depending on the time of year that you're running this, there is a chart there kind of showing you if you're running, let's say 15 miles an hour and you have 36,000 population there, you can run down 91 plants a second. So imagine nobody's really quick enough for a second. Imagine how many 2, 3 seconds, 4 seconds would be. So these are more of a reactive approach, or reactive approach. The next one I'm going to show you is more of a proactive approach, but it's going to require you to do something a little bit sooner when we actually have that planter in the field. AutoPack. Some of you may have heard about it, but I'll explain it a little more. What this essentially is putting a receiver on your planter, and then now you are steering the planter versus the tractor. So what that means is you're going to get straighter rows with your planter versus going off the tractor if you have any field conditions that might steer that planter implement off. So the rows might not be right away good what you're needing it to be. So what this also does is not only make one guidance line, but it puts a guidance line per row unit. So if you had a 16 row planter, now you have 16 guidance lines. And this will actually move on to the sprayers, but also to the combines. And what this also does is allow you to have pre-generated auto track guidance lines in each one of your machines going on through the rest of the season. So you don't have to make it while you get in the field. It's already there. So if you guys got questions on that, make sure you ask here. But there is an activation that is required inside certain compatibility of displays that you can put in there that allow us to unlock this feature. So the next thing I'll talk about, we talked about individual nozzle control, but the whole ExactApply system is kind of the cornerstone for all this individual nozzle and getting to the autonomy piece and everything like that. What this allows us to do is to get to that 15 and 30 hertz pulsing, which is going to be a better, more evenly applied product and better droplet size. Some of our competitors only can reach 15 hertz, but we're able to get to 30. Different combinations, A only, B only nozzle, A plus B, pulsating. We have that capabilities to be able to do that there. They also have LED light standard on these nozzle bodies, so you can spray later, so you can see at night, make it a little bit easier. The key fob there, so you don't have to be in the machine if you want to test each nozzle body, and you can get out and walk behind the sprayer boom and test it. And then the one thing that I'm really excited about is the industry exclusive turn compensation. So if you can imagine in the field that you have to go around, let's say a slough or a rock pile, and then that boom on the inside as you're turning is actually slowing down, but the outside is speeding up. This system has the algorithm to be able to lower that product applied on the inside boom and speed it up on the outside boom to be able to apply the product where it needs to be at the right rate, covering where you are in the field. So that's part of this whole ExactApply system there. So if you got questions more on that, you can definitely ask it or come by our booth. We have some nozzle body guides over here, and then we can show you some simulators as well if you need it. The other thing that's coming on these sprayers now that we're seeing that I think is really interesting is the pressure recirculation and product reclaim. It's pretty much what it says it is. So as we're through the field and we're not spraying, that way we can make sure the chemical in the product is staying mixed correctly. That pressure recirc is going to actually send that product through and keep it mixed the way it's supposed to be as it's continuously running. There's a 3-way ball valve that on the back there that's in the blue that you can see that just twists, and that's what allows it to come back into the tank and back out. The product reclaim is basically what it says too. That 3-way valve will essentially flip, and then we can send air through the lines, and we can collect that product back into the tank so it's not wasted. On average, you're looking at about 30 gallons of product that still sits in the boom every time you stop. So that's 30 more gallons you get back and there to fill up. So I mean, that's pretty neat if you ask me. There's the exciting stuff, See and Spray. So there's actually two different types of See and Spray. One that's out now and in production, very hard to get a hold of, but we did have a demo unit that came around. We actually had it down in Carrington at that extension office there, and we actually did a little walk around with it to be able to see it. But this one is just for fallow ground only. Tilled ground, and then you can actually see the weed and spray it. There's another one that's for the full crop and identifying the weeds, but that's what this one is out now. The ultimate is the next one that's going to be coming soon, hopefully, and that'll be for in-crop spraying and identifying. So what this does is across the boom, you actually have 36 different cameras mounted on that boom and up to 12 vision processing units that are interpreting everything that it's reading. So for each one of those processing units, there's roughly about 3 cameras tied to it. And the reason for that is there's a statistic there that says for every second, it's reading over 2,000 square feet, these cameras are. It needs a lot of processing power to interpret it and to understand what's going on to be able to spray it in a timely manner for it. And then on top of that, of course, it uses the Exactify. So that's why I said this is all building blocks to get you where you need to be. You need to adopt some of this, be familiar with it and understand it to be able to get to where we are now. This is the ultimate one. So in crop spraying, in the season, there it has the same components with what the Select did, but then it's just a little bit bigger machine, and then it has a dual tank capacity so you can split that. But the one thing that I want to show here on this one is the reason why it needs that many processing units is because it's interpreting every 200 milliseconds. That's fast. You think of the amount of data that's coming in to those units to interpret it. The other thing I want you to think about too is if we have the ability to detect weeds, imagine what the future looks like. For those of you that are more tuned into the agronomy side, imagine what these cameras could do outside of weeds. Imagine if they're going through the field and they can monitor plant health and see stress or disease or things like that. The future is limitless when it comes to this technology and with cameras and stuff like that. So the algorithms are there, 36 cameras. We should be seeing some of these in the future. It's not a matter of when it's here. It will be here. So prepare yourself for all this future automation with the AI technology. Very, very exciting. This right here is just a screenshot of what that run page looks like if you were in the cab. So you can see the camera on the top left, and then below that, that's actually what it's interpreting when it sees. So you can see how many points on that plant it's actually seeing and collecting. And then on the run screen itself, you can scroll and select any camera that you want to see, and then it gives you a diagnostic screen. So it's as easy as that, figuring out what's going on with your machine and if it's actually doing what it needs to do. So this is just a side-by-side comparison. So on the left, you have the Select, and on the right, you have the Ultimate, and you can see in which applications you're actually going to use it. And then, of course, which configuration with the single tank and dual tank. So fallow ground in season broadcast, you can still do everything that you did with a conventional sprayer. This will still do it. So there are a few limitations when it comes to See and Spray. When it's cameras involved, first we know there's a light issue. It needs to be able to see daylight. It needs to know what's going on in that field. So anytime there is darkness, it's not going to like that. We need to make sure we're in the light. And then speed will also be an issue because it's interpreting at that fast of a rate. So I believe 12 miles an hour is the top speed with these. So if you got more questions on the See and Spray, come see us. I had those QR codes up there, but on our booth, we have another little QR code you can scan. All of this information that I'm showing you is available for you. You can go out and find it on John Deere's website. So it's not a secret. The other thing I want to talk about a little bit here is we spend all this time throughout the whole year doing all the stuff that we can to be the most efficient we can. But what good is doing all that if we don't have some way to, with that collected data, to interpret it and see what we're doing is actually being beneficial for our operation. I got the My John Deere website up here, and this is not just for John Deere customers. You can log in any color machine that you're running, you can get in there and use it. But for our John Deere customers, this one simple login will get you access to our parts advisor. It'll give you access to our financial platforms. It gives you access to the operations center where we collect the data. And then some of those features on the operations center app, like location and then field data, you'll be able to utilize on there too. Easy to get. You can get a phone app with it as well, and I'll go over that in a second. But I encourage everyone to try to get in there and use that and see what it's all about, because they're making huge advancements with that year to year. So this is actually a demo field that John Deere had done with the See and Spray sprayer. If you can see on here, it's kind of blurry. I'll kind of interpret it a little bit. But out of this roughly 1,500 gallon tank that this sprayer did, it only actually had to use 550 gallons in that field versus applying everything. So 60% savings, and that means roughly 40% of the field was only applied because it could identify those weeds and then spray those specific weeds. So you can imagine what that means for your whole operation, not having to field several times as you're going through that. And that's all in there. This is exactly how the operations center looks like as you're going in and you're inputting your fields. For those of you that don't have John Deere products, you're not excluded from this. If you are running ag leader displays, precision planting displays, if you're running Viper displays, or even if you're running the Pro 700s, you can still get your data into the My John Deere in the operations center. You can still use it. It's an open platform for you to be able to do it. Those are the file types that you have to input into there. But if you don't want to mess around with that, John Deere has came out with a tool called the My Transfer tool. It uses a wireless USB stick that you can plug into any competitive display. Use a phone app on your phone, and it'll pick out the files that you need and send it to the operations center so you don't have to mess with it. Those are able to do that so you can utilize some of these features to where you can take advantage of it. So here's that John Deere mobile app, the Op Center. There's actually two apps that I really encourage, but this is one that's really handy. So this one, you can see the screenshot of it. It gives you real-time location of where your machines are. It gives you statuses on engine hours, if they're actually running, if they're stopped, if they're working in the field. It gives you on how much of that field is left to be completed. And then just for simplicity, if you think about like a harvest operation, trying to coordinate trucks to the field and where everybody is, or even a sprayer, getting another truck there to refill again. That's what this is all available here. But even past that, earlier I talked about remote display access that the dealer used, that we use to be able to help you without going there. You have access to that too, as well as you, the farmer. You can use that within your own organization to see your own pieces of equipment on that app, and it's available. The other app I encourage, if you have John Deere machines, is the Equipment Plus app. Imagine just a full operator's manual with a quick reference guide right at your fingertips. You put your pieces of equipment that you have in your organization in there, quick reference guide right there. It has everything even beyond simple settings and stuff. It has technology, even quick guides in there for setting auto track and stuff like that. So I encourage you, if you can, if you do have John Deere equipment, please download these apps. You only have to download one to get you to where you have access to all the John Deere apps, and that is the John Deere App Center. If you download that one app, it gives you access to all of them that are available, so you can download it. So here's a few neat pictures that I'm just going to end on here. Basically, the future is closer than we think it is. Over in the UK, they're using drones. That's how they're applying some of their spraying operations over there. It's pretty neat. The one below that was just a concept idea that Deere had at one of the conventions that they had there. And then to the right there is the autonomous tractor. And the reason why I got this one here is because that machine runs by an app on your phone. It's not a computer program at a desktop. It's not somebody sitting in the cab or at the end of the field. It is just an app on your phone. As simple as that. So all the younger generation now that are stuck and glued to their phone, it's not so silly because they're actually utilizing a device that will essentially run this. So maybe not so be so hard on the younger generation when it comes to with technology, because that's what the future is going to. But the big three things that I think I want you guys to leave with here is that I want you to kind of expand your mind a little bit, look at it from a different angle. When the autonomy piece is part of what we're doing, a lot of the stuff that we have on the machines now is basically leading us to the autonomy. So it's here. It's just how we look at it. We have pieces of it, whether we're just automating the machine or whether we're just automating the driving. The second one is, if we're not at a certain level now, and I said that with that tier level, we're not at a certain level, we're going to get left behind. So we need to adopt some of these. And then the hardware and the devices that you're using, we need to make sure we're utilizing them to the best of their ability. And we need to be informed about that. And that's why through our dealership at Leading Edge, we host winter workshops to educate everybody that has these items to be able to use them better and use them the best that they can with all of those operations. And then the final one is just to be open when it comes to all this technology. It's coming. It's flooding us right now. It's not going anywhere. All the technology is coming fast, and just be open-minded with it. So that's what I encourage you guys to do. I appreciate you guys taking the time this morning to be able to sit and listen to this. I know there's probably a lot of questions with, the sprayer, the See & Spray. The only question I ask you not to ask me is price on it, because I don't know it. But other than that, the other thing too is a lot of this stuff that I went through is stuff that you could walk into our dealership today. You could add that row sense, you could add that row vision. We could work on getting you that auto pad where we're being proactive versus reactive. All this stuff is available today, and then the rest of it is coming if it's not already here. So I appreciate you guys taking the time. If you got questions, be sure to ask us. We have a ton of our Leading Edge staff here for support too, but if you got questions on anything John Deere related, please ask. Please ask. But thank you guys. Anybody got questions, I guess?